By the way, I've been meaning to tell this to Calvin Education Department, Calvin College. You know, I went to Calvin and I grew up in West Michigan more or less, but we moved out here. I'm in California now. And after I went through education, got my teaching degree in West Michigan, I came out here thinking I'd just teach out here in a public school for at least for a few years, pay off my student loans. I actually wanted to be a missionary teacher, looking at Hungary, but I had my debt to pay off first. So I got a job at a public school here, not around here. This is Morro Bay. I'm just passing through. It's actually in Coachella Valley. Probably heard of Palm Springs, but on the other end, the farther end, east end. And one thing I realized after it was all said and done, I stayed there for 2 years, but it was a contentious time because it's very political in the schools. The teachers who have been there for a while, they're not really all welcoming and lovey-dovey towards new teachers, and you get the worst classes, of course, the most difficult, I should say. And then, see, most of the public schools are liberal teachers, liberal unions, etc., support all liberal causes and if they get an inkling of where you came from, which they did about me, and they started doing a little research and he came from Calvin, conservative, Christian, blah blah blah, you know, all the stereotypes. And suddenly, even before asking me what I believe personally, where I stand on issues, this and that, I was pegged, labeled in a negative light as conservative Christian, and everything. You can guess how things went after that. And so, what I'm saying to Calvin Education, Calvin English too, I was English Education, is that you need to have a class or maybe a few lectures or something to prepare students, Christian students, if they're thinking about, you know, going into the public school setting, maybe especially, you know, in a whole different region of the country. There's probably not that many like me who went from I did my student teaching at Holland Christian. You know, I grew up and went to all the Christian schools there. And then leave all that behind and come to California and go into a very liberal school. I was teaching at was even more liberal than most because it was also kind of an immigrant school. I mean, I'd say 90% Latino. I thought it'd be great because I could use the Spanish that I learned during my semester in Spain and this and that, but I got negatively stared. I mean, the problem is, the principal who hired me thought I was going to be great, but he was retiring. I was one of the last people he hired. But anyways, the main thing is to prepare, do something for kids, students, who will enter into a political atmosphere at the schools, maybe even some Christian schools, but especially public schools, in which they have to, you know, fend for themselves sometimes and figure out what's going on, while at the same time they're starting out as a new teacher and trying to take care of all the details of being a new teacher. If they go against you politically, you're up against some pretty tough stuff, and at least you should give people new teachers a heads up about all that. If you can, bring somebody in if you're not sure what to talk about yourself. And I'm sure there's people who could tell you about it. So I just want to ask you and tell you about that and let you know. Most of the professors there that I had are probably retiring, almost retired now. And anyways, hope all is well. God be with you, English.